I used to have almost like waking dreams where I would wake up and I feel like people were watching me through the windows, and sometimes I have to go over to the windows awake and like tap on them. Hey InStyle, I'm Ben Barnes and I will be playing the role of this guy. My birthday is the 20th of August. I was born in a place called Cambridge in the UK. So I recently have a new fanciest thing about me as a human being, which is that I've discovered I really like macadamia nut milk in coffee in the morning. But my go-to, most drunk through the day is just a cup of PG Tips with a little bit of milk in it. Leave it to steep. At least 2 minutes, take the tea bag out, pour the cold milk in afterwards. None of this giving you a cup of hot water and then the tea bag in afterwards. That offends me as a Brit. I have so many favorite foods. I used to have a thing where I would, in my early 20s, where I would just eat carbonara pastas everywhere I would go to see where the best one was. The best one I ever had was halfway up a mountain. I haven't been skiing or to a mountain or anything in a decade, but it was on a family mountain trip, and it was in a little cabin halfway up a mountain. It was delicious. Maybe I was just hungry. I also love Indian food, butter chickens, paswari naans, spicy curries, yeah. I have so many favorite movies. When Harry Met Sally, Back to the Future, The Princess Bride, This Is Spinal Tap. I have just so many. But those ones are ones that I have like original posters of in my house, so they come to my mind quickly. For my 40th birthday, my brother got me this big Freddie Mercury at the piano print for my house. I do love Queen, but my absolute favorites of all time are like Donny Hathaway, Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder. Like that whole 70s vibe is my jam. The first singles I bought were Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio and TLC Waterfalls on cassette tape. I bought those on the same day. Album-wise, I think it might have been a Mariah Carey album, maybe. Dream Lover, when did that come out? My favorite place to visit, well, now that I live in America, London is my favorite place to visit because it's where my family and my friends are. A lot of cities aren't really walking cities in the way that London is. So that's now my favorite place to visit, which kind of makes me sad to say. I mean, I suspect I might end up back there one day. I do just love it there. I just still sort of feel like home to me. I think I love the culture, I love the humor. I love sharing the genre of humor with fellow Brits. You know, Blackadder and Fawlty Towers through to the first season of The Office and all that kind of, that's sort of embedded in who I am. And it is all of my sort of friends who grew up in my generation as well. So I think, yeah, that maybe the humor. Astrology, star signs, not really. I don't really buy into it particularly, no. Although I will be very, patient with people who do. Whatever makes you happy, whatever feels like it stabilizes you, I love it. I love that for you. Almost everything. The big one that jumps into my mind is music. I had one piano lesson when I was about 7 or 6 years old, and the teacher was really cruel, and so I never went back, and I regret it so deeply because when I got to my mid-30s and just all I want to do is sit at a piano and be able to play it, and I don't know how. So I got myself a piano, and I'm just still sort of fumbling away teaching myself, but I wish that was something I just could snap and magic, 20 years more experience out. That would be amazing. Open my eyes. I often take with me I don't have like side tables, I have like a sort of shelf behind my bed, so I often put I'll put a bottle of water, and usually I've made some kind of tea late at night and I haven't finished drinking it, so sometimes I'll take like a sip of the tea and a sip of the water, but I'll like sort of reach up like this to have to get it. Try to finish sipping that same tea that I finished in the morning. It's usually like a sleepy time tea. Or sometimes if I'm in like a phase of like reading, I'll read like 4 pages of a book in bed, and then I'll be like, okay, and then I'll wake up with it just like on my legs. The last time I cried. The last few years I've been, negotiating like a lot of people have, but like family health And I think when you're having a lot of like more profound conversations about life and mortality, I think sometimes that can be like a teary kind of subject. Is probably that. I used to have so almost like waking dreams where I would wake up and I feel like people were watching me through the windows, and sometimes I have to go over to the windows awake and like tap on them. I feel like I loved being 10. I feel like I was sort of captain of all the sports teams. It was before sort of puberty hit and I got completely lost. And then when I was 15, I got my first job playing the drums in a production of Bugsy Malone in the West End in London. I would get to leave school early to go be a jazz drummer. And I remember feeling so cool, like standing up and being like, sorry, teach, I've got to, I've never said teach before this moment now, but I would be like, excuse me, sir, sorry, I have to leave. Then, you know, starting to work as an actor and starting to actually get jobs. When you start out, you never think you're going to actually get a job as an actor. And then when you get 2 or 3 in a row, or, you know, you think your life is just feels absolutely magical. And then I would probably skip all the way to releasing my own music and being creative and making something out of my own life, and sort of putting that out there was a very rewarding thing for me as well, just on a personal level. I remember that we finally got the news. It was in the middle of the night. They were making the decision in America and I was in England, and my phone rang, and my agent at the time, who was a very young guy, was sort of screaming down the phone. He was just so excited. So I went and I woke up my mum, and she immediately sort of like went into another room and came back with a gift and unwrapped it. I've never told this story. She unwrapped it and it was a camera, like not a disposable camera, but not like a special zoomy camera, my technical camera knowledge is staggering. It sort of said in the card already, like, you know, I want you to take all these memories in New Zealand. She'd basically bought it in the confidence that I would get the job. And I found that so powerful. She's a pretty special human. Logan is definitely the naughtiest character I've ever played. You know, everyone else was going to set wrestling with these existential crises, and my job was to look at the scenes and think, right, how can I be the naughtiest in this scene? And that was my job every day. It was so much fun for me. I think people kind of have power, and you read books and they associate you with something. And absolutely, I remember the showrunners were telling me that I'd sort of been a fan cast for the Shadow and Bone series. And it was kind of buoying, actually, because I thought, well, there are people who already have faith that I could do this. So it kind of makes you feel confident going in that you're the right person for the job. You know, a lot of us have kind of crazy imposter syndrome doing this. So yeah, I find it really, really buoying. And yeah, I love that, you know, the people who've supported me. And somebody asked me once what the most surprising thing about my career had been, and I was like, the fact that I've this sort of legion of support has come with me all the way through Narnia, through to, like, you know, psycho Marvel villains, through to back to fantasy and Shadow and Bone, and through all these different Westworld different genres of things, and through to my music, and like all these things which might have different fan bases were it not for me connecting them, being the connective tissue, but they just want me to be happy as well, which is like so surprising and so wonderful. Yeah. I think it's been an extraordinary asset to have all the source material. And in the first season, I would drive to work reading a chapter of the book that I knew that the scenes we were doing that day would be based on, because they were so clearly defined, and so it would be this amazing resource that you could draw on all the way through. And you know, when you are reading a book, you're using your imagination, conjuring up how they're moving and all of that stuff. Anyway, I think you sort of picture that movie when you read, or at least I do. So yeah, it was an incredible tool. No. Sort of like I said before, it's been an incredibly rewarding experience to make something from nothing other than your emotions and your life experience. And I think you're drawing on those things as an actor all the time and trying to sew in authentic pieces of yourself into characters that someone else has written, someone else has created, designed, someone else will edit. There's something that was valuable about waiting till a little bit later in life to really create and make something from nothing and make something of my own in my own voice. And I don't feel like that I've even scratched the surface of what that could mean or could be. I don't have the skill yet to necessarily translate those feelings to sound how I would want them to, but I'm accruing all these different people around me to kind of help me with that, and that's like a really rewarding, special, you know, thing to be happening in my life at the moment. There are so many things I would love to do. I am so kind of thirsty and curious for all the things I haven't just done. You know, I would like to do an action movie. I want to do a very Richard Curtis rom-com. I would like to do a musical. I would, you know, I mean, I'm such a fan of so many things and so many genres and so many actors and so many, you know, forms of entertainment that I just want to, you know, I want to touch on it all. Yes, I do. I was, I think, about 14, something like that, and I very recently bumped into the person with whom I shared this kiss. I found out recently she went into like this industry, not as an actor, but a different part of the industry, and she's doing amazingly, like crushing Hollywood. So I was like, wow, that's amazing. I got asked this recently, and I said that it was very difficult to get away from Heath Ledger as the Joker, but also that the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is terrifying. Yeah, anything I wore in the 90s and early 2000s, and most days now. South America. Ready?
Yeah, you're right.
I'm gonna tell it to the room. How many Freudians does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
2. That's my favorite joke. Chris?
Yeah.
Christopher Guest is a legend. Chris Guest. That is for sure my answer. Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pine, Chris Evans. Oh, my favorite Hollywood Chris is Paul Rudd. What?
Love it.
Thank you, InStyle, for having me. I've been Ben Barnes. No, wait, hang on. Thank you for having me, InStyle. I've been this guy, and you've been those guys, those people.